Good morning. So let's go ahead and go over your percent by mass, percent by volume worksheet. So on this, the biggest mistake I've seen on this is people forgetting to put the total on the bottom. So watch out if they give you the grams of one and the grams of the other, or the volume of one and volume of the other. So if it doesn't say the whole solution, then you have to add those two numbers together. So that's the case on this first one here. So you have two numbers. You have 50 grams of juice and you have 145 grams of water. So I need to add those two together to get this bottom number here, the 195. So take 50 divided by 195. So again, the top should be your solute on here, and then times 100, so our answer should be 26% juice. So on the second one, sorry, I grabbed an older version that was missing the percent, so if you didn't see that, I wrote it in Canvas. Vinegar is a 5% solution. So on this 5% number here, we need to move the decimal back on it to make a percent. So 5% is 0.050. Now be careful, if you just say 0.5, that's 50% and you won't get the right answer. So x is up here, so that means that these two numbers right here need to be multiplied. So we just take 0.050 times 750. We get 37.5, but we really should only be keeping two sig figs here. So our answer is 38 milliliters of vinegar. Don't forget to label your final answer. All right, and this one, number 3, your total is 14.5. So don't add them here because it already says total. On top, 2.56, so we just divide those. 2.56 divided by 14.5 times 100%. Our answer is 17.7 salt. So again, I just looked and saw both of those have 3 sig figs. That's how I rounded the best way I can here. All right, on our next one, there's 17.8 milliliters of methanol. On the bottom, it says it's a whole solution, so no adding here. They're already put together. So 17.8 divided by the 125 times 100 is 14.2% methanol. Right, so 5's a little different. You're not finding the percent, they've given it to you. So 25%, you're going to take that decimal and you're going to move it back 2 spots. So that's going to be 0.25. This time we know the grams of the solute there, 312, so that needs to go right here on top. And then on bottom, we don't know that. So when we're putting this together, we have to cross multiply these two and set it equal to the other one. So if we do 0.25x is equal to 312, then that means I'm going to have to take both sides and divide it by 0.25 to solve for x. So in your calculator, you need to do this. 312 divided by 0.25 on there. So since that's a decimal, it's actually going to make our number bigger. So in our calculator, we'd get 1248, but we really should round that off to 1250. All right, so in number 6, we have a similar problem to number 1. You have water and you have the grams on here. Now notice this says milliliters of water. Sorry, I forgot to change it over. On here, but that's equal to 225 grams because a gram of water is a milliliter of water. The density is 1. So before you get started, you need to remember to add 225 to 15, so that's 240. Put the solid on the top, the 15 grams, so 15 divided by 240 times 100%, 6.25% of the CuSO4. So if you did it incorrectly with 225 on the bottom, your answer wouldn't be that far off because it's not a huge change. But if this was, a Canvas quiz like we're going to have next time, there would be both of those answers there, so you need to be careful. Also remember, another thing to watch out for if you have a molarity dilution problem and whatnot, just getting everything in the right units, and then and also watch out for the problems that say water added for here. All right, so let's go to the back side. The front side was really good for most people on here. The back side was a little tougher. I'm not going to be this hard since we're doing this e-learning on some of these questions, but it's good to know these things on here. And I might ask you to find a percent for them, more like B, but A and C are a little bit harder on here, so we're not going to worry about anything quite that hard. All right, so this took a lot of critical thinking to think about what you're doing on here. So the first thing we need to find is the molarity. So the molarity is the moles of the solute, so that means just the solid on here. So you know these two numbers. You know the beaker and the potassium sulfate. So we obviously don't want the beaker in there. So the first thing you should do is right here, take 51.11 minus 34.15, and that tells you have 16.96 grams of K2SO4. So you also had another challenge here. You had to have the right formula for potassium sulfate. Potassium is K plus, and sulfate is SO4 2 minus. So when you put these together, you needed to realize this would be K2SO4. So molar mass is 2 times 39.10 plus 32.07 plus 4 times 16.00. You add all those up, 174.27. Some of you put this in your calculator the wrong way. Remember, when you're doing gram mole, you put in the given number first and you divide by that molar mass there. So 0.09732, again, 4 sig figs on this number means we should keep those, but that 0 doesn't count. Okay, the liter part on this was one of the 2 hardest things to do on the back on this. The first thing is we need to know it's the liters of the whole solution. So we need to use the numbers for the solution. So for K2SO4, you know this number, and then the beaker is still the same number. So I took 98.53 minus 34.15. The whole solution weighs 64.38. But that's not what I need for the solution. I need to know the volume. So that's the mass, but they gave me one other important number right here, and that is that this has a density of 1.25. So remember when we talked about density, we said you could split that. That would be 1.25 grams per 1 milliliter. That's what density means, is how many grams each milliliter has a mass for. The other thing you just calculated is what you found up here, the 64.38. And then what we're looking for then is X. So that's what I put there. You could set this up different ways. Just plug it in the density equation. Whatever is fine. On there, you could just say 1.25 is 64.38 over X. That works too. Cross multiply in here. I need to take 64.38 divided 1.25. And that gives me this number, 51.5. But that's in milliliters. And for molarity, you need it to be in liters. So I moved it back 3. So 0.0515. So now I'm ready to plug that in here. So I took my moles and then divided by 0.0515. I get 1.89, and my label here is the capital M because this is molarity. Okay, again, a pretty tough problem. I'm not going to put that in the quiz, but if you got that one right, great job. For B, this is something I might ask you to do, to find the percent mass of a solution. So like if you're heating a solution and you boiled off the water, to figure out on there how many grams you'd have of something, and do a little work like that. Okay, so for B, 16.96 is how much solid you put in. On the bottom, I need the mass of the whole solution on here, and that's what you found over here in the green. So this number that we did right here, the 64.38, is where I got that number. 16.96, we're going to take that and divide it by 64.38 times 100 because it's a percent. 26.34%. Again, I kept 4 numbers because I was given 4 numbers. All right, so then we need to use our number from part A up here. So this answer I got here is going to be the same here. So that's where I got 0.09732 moles. We had some extra work to do on this one too. So the water has to be the difference of the solution with the water in it. And then that is going to be this number right here. So that's the grams of water that I found from up there. This number right here is the grams of the solid. The difference between these two is the water, so I just subtracted those. So I took 64.38 minus 16.96. Remember, in molality, it's just the solvent, so I just want the water. That is in grams, and then I move it back 3, so 0.04742 kilograms. Finally, I'm ready to divide them. 0.09732 divided by 0.04742 is 2.052 molal. Remember, that's a small cursive m. Okay, so hopefully this helps. And again, I'm not going to give you the hardest problems possible on there. Some of your math problems are going to be multiple choice. Some are going to be where you just type in your answer. And again, it's going to be pulling questions from question banks and giving different people numbers. So they won't all be the same. To help you out, I am allowing you to use any of these papers you've done. So hopefully you've gone through these and done some of the practice problems. And today you have the PowerPoint. Let me know if you have any questions. Take care. Bye.